Alright guys, welcome back to segment number 2. Again, this is not me playing in this tournament. Here we have a big hand. This guy flopped a full house. This guy made a flush. But again, we're not playing in this tournament. It's actually a buddy of mine. And we're observing him. And we're comparing my plays, or what I would do in the hand, to what he would do. And we're basically discussing the differences in our play. And, but most of the time, our plays are similar. So when he has a hand, he's telling me in an instant messenger, which I have pulled up on the side of the screen. And here he's raised, but he didn't tell me what he has. He's telling me after, and I'm going to have to warn him on that, or tell him about that at least. He's raised it up with ace-7, and I prefer that he types it in so I can give my opinion ahead of time, but, I don't know what I would have done there. I might have decided to raise it up. Alright, so he's in the big blind here, 3,000 invested. He's got a 5-8 of clubs. I would just check here, now that this player's just limped in as well. That would be my play. And he does check, so our play is same there. Now this player checks ahead of him. I think I would stab here, because there's an ace and a king on the flop, and it is a scary flop. So last time, I said I would bet the minimum, and he doesn't do it. Last time he had that same exact situation. He bet 4,000 into the pot. Maybe the size of this person's stack slowed him down. Does he stab here? He does stab on the turn. And I think I would have stabbed on the flop, so I wouldn't have reached this point. And he does win the pot. Or, I'm not saying that I wouldn't have reached that point, but I was thinking that my bet would have won on the flop. But he does opt to check and then bet at the turn. So here he has a 3-7. I would probably fold this hand, but you can easily just call here, and my play is the same. Okay, so again, he's limped in before he typed in his hand, but he has told me that his computer is acting slow and sometimes it's hard to type in the hand in time. He has limped in here with a 10 jack. Now that there's a bet of 12,000, I'm sure he's going to fold it. And Dustin types in the box that he's claiming that this player has pocket aces. So he gets a read, but I was hoping we'd be able to see it. But because this player, he's assuming that because this player limped in and then overbet the flop huge. And it's not a bad assumption. But in my opinion, he could have just as easily had a big king and done the same thing, because he does have a pretty large stack to make that bet. So we are back to hand for hand. There is 11 players left. Smallest stack having 3,000, and the blinds being 3,000. So, okay, so here he's in the big blind. He had king 6, and everybody just folded to him. So, yeah, we're just hand for hand. The next player out, we're at the final table. Okay, here in the small blind, he has a 3 queen offsuit, and another hand where I might just fold. That would be my play, would be to fold. But he may opt to limp in as well. A queen is a queen high. He does decide to raise. So we had two different plays there. He raises, and he does pick up the blinds. And little different play. He does have a bigger stack, so he's able to make that play. It's also, I guess, another mention that you can say it's the, the bubble boy. This is where the bubble boy is made, so he's able to put more pressure on the smaller stacks. Here he has an ace-king, and I'm sure he's going to come in for a raise, and I think it's going to be about 7,500. That would be my bet. He makes a 72. It looks like a blind steal attempt, but disguised because it's really a big hand. And I'm sure he's wanting somebody to play back at him. If he went all in, I'm sure he would call. He decides to fold. Okay, so he's raised it without telling me again. So we can't compare our hands, our play pre-flop, but obviously he typed in his hand afterward, and he has an 8-6 suited. So again, he's taking the aggressive stance, and he is in second place at this table. He takes the aggressive stance and gets played back at. So, to be honest, if I would have played this hand at all, I would have limped. But I also would have been more likely just to fold that hand. He takes the aggressive stance and loses 7,000. Here he raises again without telling me. But he does now tell me he has pocket 3s. So he raises with 8-6. I'm sure he's going to raise with pocket 3s. But I think I would have limped in, again, because we're in first to act position. and it would be great to hit a 3 and get someone to pay us off. But we'll see. I think I'm playing in my head a little more conservative, and he's playing a little more aggressive. So our style of play is different at this level, and it makes good comparison. And here he's in the big blind with pocket 6s. So we'll see what the other players do, and we have an all-in. So we'll make a big decision here. In my opinion, I think ultimately I would call this because it is a player who may be in a little more desperation mode, and you can't ask for much better than a pocket pair when you're 5-handed like this. So my decision will be to call after thinking about it a while. And he is thinking. There's a good chance this guy has an unpaired hand. Ace King, in that range, Ace Jack. Could be any of those hands. And if he does have an unpaired hand, then it's a good race. But you don't want to see a pocket pair here. So I'm right with the pair. And he does call. So that worked out. He's going to pick up 21,000 or 22,000 in that hand. So he's got a pretty good stack now. And that's going to do it for the... Well, actually, we're going to the final table. So pull up the lobby again and find his table.